Righty. I do believe we are live. Hi, everyone. It's Monique Alvarez. I'm super excited to be joining you live today. We're going to talk about this urban myth, at least it feels that way before it happens for you, when strangers on the internet buy your stuff. And the fascinating thing about this is it feels like it is an urban myth. It feels like it's a miraculous event that you probably won't experience. In fact, I had a private session with a lady last year, and when we started talking, she said, I think everyone who says that this is what they do, I think they're all lying because I cannot figure it out. And that's how it feels. When you haven't figured it out, it feels like this is just all BS. This couldn't be true. So today I want to unpack a little bit about what this concept is. We're going to start at the beginning. Of course, I'm going to include my story. And over the next week or so, I'm going to be talking about what it takes for strangers on the internet to buy your stuff, no matter what it is. You could be selling retreats, courses, coaching, services, products. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I've helped everyone from realtors to ranchers to coaches to publishers actually make this their reality. And once you get a stranger on the internet to buy your thing, you literally have built your own ATM. Everything changes inside and out. And I'm going to talk to you about what that looks like. So first off, tell me hi, tell me where in the world you're joining from. I'm going to share this into my Facebook group if you're not already a member. It's Network Like the Rich. So let's find that group and we'll get this party started. Okay, there we go. So I'd love to hear how long you've been online, what brought you online. When I came online 11 years ago, I had a very specific reason. I would not have decided to bring my business online had I not decided this one thing was extremely important to me. And that one thing was I decided it was extremely important that my boys see the world. So I had two sons back to back, two babies in 12 months and 20 days. And I had one wish for them. I wanted to give them the world. I wanted to travel the world with them. I traveled the world a ton in my 20s. I was a volunteer overseas. And then when Derek and I got married in 2007, we started our business. And in 2011, 12, we traveled to all my favorite places together. And it was actually when we were traveling, we were living in Albania, and I went for a walk on the beach. And I heard these voices from the sky say, Mom, we're ready to join the adventure. And not too long after that, we had our two boys. So I was like most people. I started off Main Street, brick and mortar, going to BNI breakfast, going to chamber events. And honestly, I was content with that. We went from Tucson, Arizona. We moved to San Diego. I was in the BNI chapter in Little Italy. I was where the money was. We were blowing and going, and everything was fine. On paper, if you would have met me at it, like everything was good. What more could I ask for? We were living in downtown Gaslamp. I had 350 restaurants to choose from in this tiny little radius. If you know me, that's my dream come true. We walked to the farmer's market every Saturday. We went to the water. We went to, La Jolla. We did whatever we wanted. And one day I was walking to Whole Foods. I had my little shopping cart. And all of a sudden, I just broke down in tears. And I realized that this was not the full dream. When Derek and I got married and we decided to start a business, he was not going to get a job. I was not going to get a job. We were going to build a business together. We wanted to build a certain type of life. And that life included the freedom to travel, to do whatever we wanted. And I, in that moment, realized I was missing travel and that I wanted to take Derek everywhere that I had been. And I wanted to create these memories together. And so I went to Whole Foods. I went back to our loft. I walked in and I made an announcement. I said, we're selling everything and we're going to Albania. Let's go travel. Let's go to Greece and Albania and all my favorite places. Let's go to Montenegro, all the things. And To give you a little idea of who my husband is, he's this very rock solid, grounded, logical Capricorn. And I'll never forget, he turned his chair around. He has his desk pointed out the window, and he turned his chair around and he said, "Sorry." And I said, "I'm going to start listing stuff on Craigslist right now, and we're going to buy plane tickets and we're going to go travel." And what I can tell you is that afternoon, we had the first knock on our door, and someone came and bought stuff right out of our kitchen. And in less than a month, we had plane tickets and we flew to Albania and we started traveling. So I wanted to do the same thing for my boys. I was highly motivated to figure this thing out, selling on the internet and figuring out how to create something that people I'd never met in places I've never been, pull out the credit card and buy from me, because I knew what Derek and I had done, and I wanted to do the same thing with the boys. In fact, there was no plan B. Some of you have seen my previous lives. There was no plan B. There was no, like, if this doesn't work out, we'll do this. And honestly, this is sometimes the biggest issue with people, is that they have plan B, C, D, E, F, G, right? They have all these alternatives for if this doesn't work out. And for me, there was no alternative. I had already announced that we were going to travel as a family. I had already, made the decisions, told clients, and I I'm the type of person, I don't like failing. Anybody else, any other overachievers here? I don't like failing. It's not my flavor. I don't like looking stupid. I don't like being in a position where people can say, "We told you so. You should have listened to us," right? I'm the type of person that once I decide what I'm going to do, I do it. And there is no other route. So when we left, we were back in Tucson when I had Grant. When we left Tucson and we moved to Mexico, I'll never forget it, right? Some of you have seen a previous live. All the clients that I had built up so that we had a base of income, like, okay, I know for sure this is coming in every month. Every single one of them on the same day canceled. And that's a whole nother story, right? Like, you don't deserve to travel, and you're a mother, and you're too young, and wait your turn, and right? You can't do business on the internet. That's where the charlatans do business, right? Oh, those are all the scammers. Can't tell you how many people who were brick and mortar local, right? Main Street business owners were like, "Oh, only scammers do business on the internet." So that's what happened in one day. And I'll never forget, I called my dad and I was like, literally everybody canceled. Derek and I, we went to the center, the city center, and we were eating chicken chilaquiles, and we were trying to figure out what we were going to do. And I knew what the plan was. I knew what I needed to do. I needed to show up online like my life depended on it, and it did. And I don't know where you all stand on this, but I pray every day. I said, I need help. Help me. Give me an idea. And you give me an idea and I will act on it. I'm not one of those people that, like, oh, I get an inspired idea and then I write it in 17 notebooks and sit on it for 72 months. I act on it. And sure enough, I got an idea. And this idea said, you're going to go live every day. And that was the start to me going all in online. And it was really because I had no other choice. And I don't know where you are in your life, if you have choices, if you have, I've said this a lot in my coaching, that the women who actually have the hardest time online are the ones who have rich husbands. The people who have alternate routes, those people have the hardest time. But most people don't work well in high risk, high pressure, right, situations. I found out I do. I work well in those situations. And what I discovered while sitting in Mexico, living in Mexico, is that if I talked every single day about what I did and how it helped the person out there. And I just assumed people were reading. Whether they liked or commented, I just assumed they were reading. I assumed that they were watching my lives. I assumed that they were paying attention. And I spoke to them every day. This is what I've got. This is what it will help you with. This is what you will get when you work with me. And I got this idea that I was going to promote this one program. It was very small. It was like, I don't know, $7,700, something like this, around $100. And I was going to talk about it for 21 days. I have no idea where I got that, right? I had, at this point in my life, I had never had a coach. Never had a coach. When I was starting off in BNI, they had these different mentors in the Arizona, something small business, yada, yada, had different mentors, and you could go listen to them, once a month, teach a thing. And I had went and listened to Deborah. She was like the only person I'd ever considered a mentor, but I hadn't had like a coach who's like, this is what you do. You want to save yourself 3 to 5 years of wandering in the desert? This is what you do. This is your business model. This is what you do. I didn't have that. But I had decided for 21 days in a row, and you'll notice I love 21, I love 12, I love 3, I love 30, right? On a life path 3. So I decided to do this. And for the first 7 days, nobody bought. And I remember Derek was like, so what do you think? How's it going? And I said, nobody's bought, and I don't care. I said, I'm talking about this for 21 days. By God, they're going to hear me talk about this for 21 days, right? I'm going to wear them down. Watch out, right? And like you all know, I lit my hair on fire and I was passionate and I was excited. And I acted on day 8, the same level. I had the same level of excitement as I did on day 1. Like it didn't matter. I'm all in. Like you can get on my train or you can get out of the way of my train. You can jump on my train. You can tell other people about my train, but my train ain't stopping. So I kept going. And so I think it was around day 10, 11, first person bought. Didn't know this lady from Adam. And I mean, we celebrate every sale. I say this to my mastermind and sometimes in the Facebook group. As a family, we discuss every single payment notification. We celebrate everything. And we celebrated that payment notification big time. So I was like, oh, there's one. There's more, right? And then, of course, I talked about how this lady joined, and I just kept going. And on day 21, the end of day 21, I had 11 people in. And so I made about $1,000. Yeah. And that is probably the most important $1,000 I have ever made. It was, I changed. I completely changed inside and out. The lens I looked through, everything changed. And I did that program. It was a short program. I can't remember how long it was, but maybe a 3-week program. And then I got this idea to host an international networking event. That was my second program. And it was a 4-week networking event. And I said that I wanted 100 people in and I wanted every continent represented. Where I got this crazy idea, why I thought I could do that, I have no idea, but I got this idea. And so as soon as I got the idea, I clicked this little button and I started talking about it. I ran my mouth about it all day, every day, everywhere. My profile, other people's stuff, my Facebook group, I didn't have a Facebook group, other people's Facebook group, everywhere. Everywhere I could talk about it, I talked about it. And nobody was more surprised than me when I want to say we ended up with 111 in that program. I hit my goal of 100 people. There was women from all over the world, all over the world. And we had so much fun in that 4-week networking event. And that's when I thought, oh my gosh, I'm onto something. Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Jeff. Oh, Jeff, you're in the DI, you're over at DIA. Hi, Donica. So when that happened, I knew we were going to be okay. I knew that I could build from there. But this is the point that most people never get to. Tell me in the comments, what's the highest number, the biggest number of people you've ever gotten a program? This is the point that eludes people, that it just feels like they're constantly running after this carrot, or that, have you ever seen a rainbow and you feel like you're so close to it and you keep driving and it moves directions and you just never quite get there. It's never quite can get to the rainbow. You can never quite get to the carrot. Now, I have thought about this so much because, this is 11 years later. We've had thousands of clients in 43 countries. I've had clients in countries I didn't even know where that was. Come again, tell me. It's very, very fascinating to me. I mean, I still feel like the luckiest girl in the world to be able to make a living like this, to be able to be myself, do what I love, and payment notifications roll in when I'm awake, when I'm asleep. But this is what most people will never experience. And if they experience it once, they cannot recreate it. I don't know how many of you have ever had that. I remember I had a private client pretty early on, and she told me, I asked her, I always ask people, like, why did you join this? Why did you hire me? Why did you say yes to this? And I'll never forget her answer. She said, I promoted an offer 2 years ago, and I sold 4 or 5 people into it. And I never sold another thing since. And that's why I'm here. Because this is haunting me. It's eating at me. It's destroying my confidence. And I cannot figure it out. And now I'm in such a mind, right? That I can't see out. I don't know what's up and down. I don't know if I'm coming or going. This is what often happens on the internet. People will sell something and then not sell anything for a very long time. They'll go through a drought. And then they cannot get out of their own head. I have worked with people who their business is really, offline. We have had tons of clients who are realtors, tons of clients who have a brick and mortar store, tons of clients who are fully online, clients who are a little bit of both. And there's trends and there's themes. I love looking for the themes, for the trends, for the threads, because they tell us something. And some of you know my friend Chris. Thank you, Megan. My friend Chris, when Chris and I started working together, we didn't know each other, right? Chris, she signed up to be an author in one of our books, and then she decided that she wanted to create her own book, and she wanted to lead a book. And that's when Chris and I met, because Derek told me, Chris wants to do a book, but Chris was fresh from corporate. She had never done any of this. And so I stepped in, and Chris and I started talking. First thing, I think one of the first things I asked her was what her human design was, figured out she was a projector. And I don't know if Chris will remember this, but it just flew out of my mouth because that's what happens. I remember I said, oh, shit, a projector. Because I'm a manifesting generator, right? And we work at a totally different speed and pace and rhythm than projectors. And I had like one of my last clients that I had before I met Chris was a projector, and we had just clashed because she kept trying to do business like me, and I kept trying to tell her, you can't. And so I literally just said that out loud. But Chris, Chris didn't give a rip. She was like, I'm doing this, we're doing this. And one of the things that Chris will tell you that I said on repeat, and Chris hired me for private work later. We've done so many things together, and now she's a dear friend. But one of the things that I said to Chris over and over and over, Chris, don't be smart. Don't think, just do. Don't think. Don't think about it. You've just got to do it. So one of the trends that I have observed in 11 years is the smarter a person is, you're going to love this, write it down. The smarter a person is, the more degrees that they have, the more years of college that they have, the harder it is in the online space for them, for sure. And you're like, well, you're just saying that because you have a high school diploma from the worst school in Colorado, and you don't believe in college and you're anti-college. And I'm telling you, it's just the truth. I get a client and they got masters and PhDs and 2 degrees, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to tell you right off the bat, Lisa, we're going to have to take all that smartness. I'm going to have to just like knock all that smartness right off of you, because smart people have a really hard time in the online space. The rules that apply in this world over here that most people come from, right? They do not apply to the online space. And what's required to be successful online looks nothing like what's required in other arenas. It is a very unique place. And this throws people off because they think, you know what? I'm just going to bring that over here. No, 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 no. Drop it. Drop the degrees, drop the smartness. And I'll say this for sure, fact, because I've worked with a ton of them. I attract a lot of college educated people. I don't attract a lot of high school diplomas, right? We always attract the other end, right? Because people are fascinated. Every time someone has an MBA, I have to literally like reprogram their brain because whatever they're teaching in the masters of business in universities doesn't work on the internet. It's total bullshit, right? It's like opposite world. So MBAs have they have the hardest of all the highly educated. So smart people really struggle online. They have it all intellectually, but it does not translate. The other group that has a really hard time is people who were very successful offline. People who had very successful salons, real estate careers, shoe stores, landscaping companies, rock solid people, rock solid people. They worked in industries that are just like, they've been around forever, they're going to be around forever. Those people, they come online, and these are the people who really get humbled because they've experienced success, right? Sometimes the highly educated people, they come from more an employee background, a corporate background, and so they haven't created their own business, right? But they got fired, they got fried, they got burnout, and so they're trying to find something else. But let me tell you, the ones who really get humbled are the ones who've had success offline in what we would call real business. And so they figure if I can make it in real business, right? I can come online. I can translate that. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. Yeah, Nancy. Okay, she says, pretty interesting. So coming from 30 years of corporate, a big disadvantage. It is. I will tell you, let me just say it like this. Okay. The best thing that someone can do when they come online is to act like this. I have this experience, but this experience is not what's going to serve me here. Okay. There will be times it comes in handy because you understand people. And so it's going to come in handy, but in lifting a business up off the ground and getting clients and generating cash, no, not helpful. I'm going to give you a personal example from my life. So I was a volunteer overseas in my 20s. I lived in some crazy places, right? I was in Myanmar, I was in Albania, I was in Kenya. I worked with street kids, orphanages. I worked with HIV babies, and none of that helped me when I started my business until it did. Fascinating thing when I just said, I'm putting that all over here. That was a great season of my life, but this is not what I'm doing anymore. It helped me just come to this fresh, because what can happen is when we try to bring in, I've got all these years of experience, I've got all these degrees, I have this success I'm going to pull from. We think that we don't have to do the things that we have to do. Okay. So there is really no skipping steps on the internet. There's really no skipping steps anywhere, but there's no skipping steps in creating a lucrative online business. And the steps, there's different types of business models. There's different types of things we sell, but there is a process that's pretty similar that everyone goes through. And the way to slow that process is to think that those years of experience are going to speed it up. It's actually the best way to slow it down. Now, what I will tell you is what ended up helping me from all my years of travel and adapting and being in some insane circumstances, right? You could push me out of a helicopter with a paperclip and a passport, a piece of gum, and I can survive anywhere in this world. I probably don't look like it, but I have been through survivalist training. I could find a route and live, right? I've went without food and water and electricity and all of the things for extended periods of time. I know how to handle it. I can do it. And how all of this came into play with my online business is that kind of gritty determination, that perseverance, that resourcefulness really came in handy. What also came in handy is all my years of experience and having a very wide global view and, having the whole gamut. It's why I attracted people from all over the place, because when I talked and when I shared stories, they were like, oh, you've been here, you've done that. I didn't have like the typical American background. So it shaped the kind of clients and the flavor of business I got, just like every person's experience. So for example, people who have a corporate background, you're going to attract a lot of people who are leaving corporate, who have left corporate, and they're ready for their next step in whatever way that looks, right? Because you speak their language, you have something in common. So the the other thing that I would say, and I already alluded to this, a group that has a hard time transitioning online are, in particular, women who have rich husbands. And I guess I could say men who have rich wives, right? There is a level of dedication and discipline that's required to be successful offline, brick and mortar, right? So those people, they understand that level, but they often apply the discipline in the wrong direction online. And they often are quite happy for it to be a slow build because that's what they did offline. That's what they did on Main Street, right? And similarly, most women, this is not 100%, but most women who decide for whatever reason that they're going to start a business and they have a rich husband, or men who have a rich wife, they can be in a similar boat in that they are like, I can grow this slowly over time. I'm going to say something that, I don't know, I probably shouldn't say. This is not like correct, okay? Not in any way. But the more willing you are to build the business slow online, the greater chance that you're going to starve. The greater chance that there's going to be extended periods of no cash flow. And then you're going to get discouraged. And things move very quickly online, okay? Online requires us to adapt much faster than over there on Main Street. Main Street evolves much slower. That's one of the first things I noticed. So just to give you an example, when I first started posting in other people's Facebook groups, that landscape was entirely different than it is here. Nobody charged you to promote in their group. There were certain days, there were certain rules, yes, but most groups you could promote in at least once a week. The group I got the highest number of clients from, I could go live once a week and I could promote once a week. I think that was the thing. I think 2 times a week I could. And I maximize that, right? Now, Facebook groups have changed so much. They change minute by minute. The lives were hot, and then Facebook, then they totally buried lives, and reels were hot, and then now we delete the lives. The rules constantly change. The platforms will throw new things at you. And so people who do not build quickly get caught in all of the changes. They get so discouraged. So people who are really okay, they've told themselves, whether it's I have this amount in the bank, or I have husband bring it in, or whatever it is. So I have the ability to build solid and to build slow online. Those people rarely do. They rarely build anything. And because the pace of the internet is so fast, they're completely thrown off by this because they have this slow and steady approach. And let me tell you, slow and steady is a great approach. Do I want you to build something solid? Yes. It does. It's not compatible with the internet, though. I'm not saying you don't want to be solid. You don't want to have something that's real and helpful. No. But what I'm saying is that mentality, it doesn't work well online. There is a pace, there is a rhythm, there is a cadence. And when you start to fall off that cadence, it is so easy to feel like you're on, have you seen those reels when somebody's like their first day at the gym and they put it on too fast and then they like fly off the back and they knock out the person behind them? This is kind of what it feels like being in the online space for most people. Like they think like, okay, I'm getting it. I'm on the treadmill. I'm doing it. And then they get shot back and they like, bust their leg and their face and everything else on the way out. This is a different world. It's a different beast. And I have said this to so many people. Some people are offline people and some people are online people, and there's very few that are both. You need to know which one you are. Okay. I can do both. Most people cannot do both. If you're an offline person, it's okay to be an offline person. You can learn some of the more advanced things from internet people because internet people are way far ahead of offline people. Facts, just facts. I don't care where you're at. The online world is far advanced. Now, if you're in the middle of nowhere like me, like if you're in small town America, your like online space is like 20, 30 years ahead. If you're in a more sophisticated, city, it's not that the gap isn't that big, but still. You have to know which one you are and stop wanting to be the other. Okay. That's the first thing you've got to determine. You have to have a good reason to want to build an online business. Otherwise, you're not going to move through the paces. And that's the very first thing I would say. Like, I got some clients and I would see, like, you know what, actually, you belong offline. Like, don't do this to yourself. Don't torment yourself. Don't torture yourself, right? Don't do this. So if that's where you are, go live your best offline world, right? Build that best business. You can learn some things. You can have edge. You can be light years ahead of your competition offline, but fully embrace it. Now, if you are like, no, Monique, I have a good reason like you to build an online business. This is where it's at for me. This is reach. This is capacity. This is like the level of influence. This is the amount of money I want. This is the lifestyle I want. This is the freedom I want. These are the choices I want. Like this, I'm locked in. This is my path, and I know why. That you're my people. I'm going to mentor 5 people in February, right? So you can choose 1, 3, or 6 months. I'm going to teach 5 people how to do this. It's obviously private work, customized to your individual scenario, what your goals are, what your business is, what your skill set is, all of that. I can help you translate all those years of experience into what would sell right now on the internet. But I will literally take you through this. It will shave, God, I would say at least 2 years off, right? For most people, it's 2 to 5 years. I want to help a handful of people lock this in now so that they benefit, they reap their financial rewards the rest of this year. Because let me tell you, it's a hell of a year to have your act together. There's a lot of money to be made this year. There is so many stars aligning this year. That's why I'm offering this right now. A lot of you have watched me. I haven't offered private work for a long time. I think it was last April was the last time I offered private work. I'm really stingy with private work, to tell you the truth, because when I get a private client, like I'm all in. It's heart and soul. I told this to a private client, like all my angels, guides, and ancestors start talking to me for you, right? Like it's a different experience. It's like next level. It's a co-creation that's not like any other thing. It's not like a group program. It's not like a mastermind. It's really this knowing that you and I have this contract together, that we were meant to do this. We agreed to this a long time ago. So I'm going to mentor 5 people in this. But if you're pretty sure offline is your space, go do your offline. Yeah. If you know this is where you're at, if there is no other choice for you, then I will drop the details in the link here. I know firsthand how much this can change someone's life, how much it can change your life, how much it changed my life. The reason why the online space is sort of like the, like, everyone just gets so starry-eyed, right? Is because it allows us to build at a speed that nothing else does. It allows us to make money in a way nothing else does. And it allows us to have this reach and influence unlike anything else. There's not 60 customers a day coming into your front door like on Main Street. You could have 600,000 people listen to your podcast or watch your video or buy your thing. It feels so limitless because it is. So if you know that's where you're meant to swim, if that's your world, if that's what you know is burning in here, then I'll drop the details. I'm going to be on here every freaking day talking about this. You know how it goes. I decide this is, well, I'm not even going to say I decided. This dropped into my heart actually yesterday. I didn't have plans of promoting private work in February. My boys went to the park. They're out there playing football. And I did my yoga nidra, and I heard this is what you're supposed to offer. So this is what we're offering. There's a certain number of days I'm talking about it. This offer expires. God, I should have brought my notes. I think the 9th. I'll put it in the comments. So I'll talk about it for a certain number of days. There's 5 spots. If it's yours, take it. The pricing, the promotion, the offer, all of the things, they end on a certain day. I'll put it in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. If this is what we're meant to do, let's do it. Let's go. Because I'm going to tell you something, wasting time, that's a real tragedy. And you don't have time to waste, and you definitely don't want to waste it this year. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.